crossing the line. That's the subject of this extraordinary encounter. And it has to do with the fact that within a few months having moved to Israel, I was introduced to an Arab pastor who had a small church in the city of Ramallah inside the West Bank. So the line that I was crossing was between the 1948, the pre-48 borders of Israel and the occupied territories or that of the West Bank. So that's the subject of this particular recording. And I'm making this recording on May the 16th, 2023. So we met this brother and began to travel over to develop a relationship and to work with him, speak for him in this small church. And we had met on Wednesday evening, so I would go over and in the afternoon we'd spend some time together, have a meal, whatever, and then be a part of that service. On more than one occasion, Connie joined with me, and also Chris would come across the border. Now, because of the fact it was we were going through checkpoints that were both Palestinian and Israeli, and that there were times, volatile situations that were going on, Connie and I decided not to ever, where we were by ourselves, across the border with Chris back in Israel. And a couple of times, because of who she was with, we did that, but very limited because it just didn't seem wisdom for us. And we always wanted to have one of her parents, and that would be Connie in this case, to be with her, to take care of her in that. In any event, over the period of time, became quite comfortable. But first of all, I went there from Jerusalem, which was an easy ride up. It just go north out of Jerusalem and pretty much past where Jacob saw that ladder ascending into heaven. Just past that is the city of Ramallah. And this is where the ministry was that I began to take part of. Now, there were times where when I was coming back, there were, especially once we moved to the coast, where I came back for a different route, I would encounter checkpoints. The Palestinian checkpoints were not so much on this particular route, but the Israeli checkpoints were always there as a constant, and going in and going out. One evening I was coming through there from having left that meeting on a Wednesday evening, and suddenly there was these markers. You had to lower your speed limit to like 5 miles an hour, no problem. And I was passing a kind of an Israeli outpost where a lot of the military they were housed there. And there was a guy with a rifle on his knees behind a block on one side. There was another guy on the other side, a couple of them. You could see him. There was one guy on a high post. And I would say probably at least a half a dozen or more. And then there was one or two guys who were kind of standing on the road. And when I went by, we had a van and a minivan. And when I went by slowly, of course, they always led with their rifles, and they were kind of peering inside the van to see if I had anybody in there with me. So I don't know what's going on. Never did find out, but I drove slowly and prayerfully, and I didn't. It was kind of nerve-wracking, but I was not in any danger. I hadn't done anything, so they were able to check that out, and to their satisfaction, as well they should have. So I got up to the main road and buzzed on down on this super highway, down on into where we lived in Herzliya Pitua. After I first started going there, we thought, I need to stay in contact, and I had never had a cell phone. So this is back when they were very new. We're talking about 1996 and 97, and so I got my first cell phone, and it looked like some of the older TV remotes. That's what it looked like, and maybe some of you remember that. And anyway, I got that, and the purpose was that when I got to the meeting, I would call Connie or text her and tell her, okay. I'd call her and tell her I'm here, safe arrival. And then when I left, when I crossed the line, that last outpost or checkpoint back into Israel proper, I called her again. to let her know that I was safe and made it through. So that was how we did things. And I remember that I had the cell phone about a couple of weeks is all. And that was our pattern where I'd call her coming in, call her coming out. And she said, hey, on the way home, could you stop and get some bread or milk or something? I said, sure. So that became a part of our pattern then. I gave her my safe arrival passing of the checkpoint and got a little bit of a shopping list at the same time. And that's how we were doing business there for really from Hershey Patuah for 2 years. And the Lord was good. And there were more things that happened as I was crossing the line different times. But, it was what we were doing, and the Lord was good to protect us and those with whom we were working. So thank God that I was not crossing the line without Him.